Alrighty, hello everybody. For those of y'all who have not met Yona yet, this is my sweet kitty. She's wanting to go back to her hidey hole, and I'm making her hang out with me a little bit longer. But we're gonna wait a minute and let everyone get checked in and get here. Hello, Lindsay, welcome. Hello, Amber. Hello, Lizanne. Lizanne, can you tell me your name? Oh, it's Lizzie. Hey, today I'm drinking from a lovely Claire Parish pottery mug, which I adore, and I have Chick-fil-A sweet tea in it, so. Yeah, Lizzie, I couldn't see your face at first because it just popped up with like several other names, and so I saw that and I was like, I feel like I know that that's not a Lizanne, but once I saw your face, I knew it was you. So, I'm drinking my, hey Yardley, welcome. I'm drinking my Chick-fil-A sweet tea in a fancy mug. Whatever is making you feel good today, get it something good to drink, something good to eat, and just kind of treat yourself. I'll show you, I did kind of have a little bit of mystery with the flour today, and that was partially because I knew which flour I wanted, but I hadn't used my app to figure out what it was called yet. So I figured a little mystery would be fun, but I honestly just didn't know what it was called. So let me switch you over. This is the lovely flower that is growing up all over Georgia that we are painting today. It has many names. Some are pretty, some are not. So the general name for this type of flower is called Vicia, which is probably what I'm gonna stick with. But the specific name that this one is a, oh goodness, a winter vetch. V-E-T-C-H, a winter vetch. So I'm probably gonna label it as Vicia, V-I-C-I-A, which is definitely a lot prettier. But I mean, seriously, look at how pretty these petals are. Look at how interesting the leaves are. It's a vine, so it kind of grows in these long vines, which I think are just gorgeous. So forget the fact that the specific name is not that pretty. I just like it. I love all these curlicues. We'll go through that later. Anyways, get your surface that's disposable or cleanable. Hello, Saul, you're welcome. Hey, Mel. White paint, blue, red, yellow, water, any kind of surface to paint on. Pencil, paintbrush, rag to clean off. Lizzie, we will miss you. You can always take this class later. So I'll put it up on my IGTV later and you can enjoy it then. Yeah, so that is what we're needing. Something fancy to drink, whether it's sweet tea from Chick-fil-A in a fancy mug or something completely different. You're welcome to all of it. Hello, Allison, welcome. All right, y'all, so that's what we're painting today. I am really excited about it. It's kind of gonna be along the style of our clovers that we've done. So our red and white clovers, where we draw up the initial structure and then we do a lot of color mixing and dots and lines and just slowly build that up. That's how it's gonna work. Here is a picture of what we are working with. So this is what I made as my tester. You see, we're gonna play with some of the curlicues that showed up on the vine and just the different colors dropping down. So this is what we're going for. I think it's very achievable. So yeah, if everyone's got their stuff together, feels comfortable with where they're sitting, doesn't need to go to the bathroom, we'll go ahead and get started. As per usual, take a nice deep breath. So let everything fall away. Let all the stress, all the pressure, all the anxieties just kind of go off to the side for now. For the next hour or so, we're gonna focus in on this really pretty plant that's just growing wild all over the place. We're gonna put all of our attention on that, on mixing colors, on drawing shapes. This is not gonna be about achievement or perfection. This is all about growth and skill building and just learning something new. So focus your attention in on this. Let everything else that's making you worried or anxious or stressed just kind of go off to the side for the next little bit and just focus your energy and your attention on this. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a great time. We'll see if Yona decides to hang out with us anymore. She does what she wants. So let's get started. Here we are. So this is what we're working with. Sawyer, I just saw where you said you and Haley are gonna do it together later. I cannot wait to see what y'all create later. All right, I am setting up my little iPad so I can see y'all's comments. Hey, Aunt Maria, welcome. Okay, so here is what we're working with. As per usual, the first thing that we're gonna do is we are going to observe. And also, as per usual, I couldn't find the perfect flower, so I've pieced one together. We have already looked at this. This is a beautiful, very well-rounded plant. So it's not very flat. We're gonna be drawing it flat, but it's pretty awesome. It's a vine by nature, so we get a lot of curlicues at the end, so the ends don't just kind of stop. They keep spiraling out, so we'll play with that. Here's some more curlicues. The leaves are perfectly, this is part of why I saw it, are just like the shape of our brush strokes. So we're gonna have some fun with that and get the leaves right. And the same thing with our flower petals. When we look up close at our flower petals, we see that they are different types of purple. So we see that pink purple, we see a lighter kind of pink, and then we see that blue purple coming out in dark and light in that variation also. So that's pretty cool. We see they're skinny at the, let me see if I can get it to stop bouncing so much. Okay, we see they're kind of skinnier towards the base, and then they petal out with the blue purple. So we see multiple, let's see if I can show it. Yeah, we see multiple of the petals coming out. So they're kind of cone-like. So that is what we're working with. Let me see if I can rediscover how I had it laid down. We'll hide the fact that it's not a continuous flower plant. Okay, there we go. Look at that. Now it looks like it's all one plant. No one's the wiser. All right. Let me just get it just right. Okay, so we're going to be starting with our pencil today. We are not necessarily drawing this exact format right here. Once again, this time around, we are learning the general rules that make this flower unique, and we're going to be learning those kind of systems, those kind of rules to make it happen. But we're not trying to get these exact flowers in the right places. That can get stressful. We're just going to learn what makes this leaf look unique, what makes this type of flower kind of come out the right way, and if you want to put different strands of purple and stuff coming out in different places, you are 100% invited to do that. You can do different curlicues than me. We're just going to play. Okay, so to get started, we're going to draw our base structure. Hey Cassidy, welcome. So our base structure, with this one we see, once again, it's not like the wisteria vine where it all just kind of fluidly flows. It's still pretty segmented. So we're gonna segment out our lines. So just kind of start towards the top where you want the top of your vine to be. Draw a little line. Mine are about an inch long, inch and a half long each, but I'm working with a 9 by 12 paper. So if you're working with a smaller paper, you can make smaller lines. Just work accordingly. I am not even looking at the flower right now. I'm just doing segments. Okay, there's my last segment. So there we go. Now from this, I didn't draw that top flower as part of that vine, so now I'm gonna add in that little hook. So these kind of do like a shepherd's hook a little bit. So think like a candy cane or something where the flowers are gonna be, and just put that hook on there. Wherever you want that flower to end and the stem to begin, just draw a line coming straight out like that, maybe a little at an angle. And you can go ahead, we're looking over here. I'm gonna do some more flowers up here. So I'll come up on this little intersection that I drew, and I'll draw a shepherd's hook for where the flower is gonna be, and then a line for where my leaf's gonna be. I'll do another shepherd's hook right here. So I'm going off script with how this flower is. I'm just kind of drawing where I want things to be so I can see them, but it's not gonna be exactly like what this flower is. So I did a little shepherd's hook, and I'll do a little line coming out from there. Come down here, I'm gonna go straight up almost because I have it going indented a lot. So now I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna do a nice big flower coming up. Nice big shepherd's hook. You see my pencil marks are all over the place. That doesn't matter, that's what erasers are for. And then a nice long line coming out from there. And then I'll do one more. My shepherd's hook, that one just kind of went in a little bit. And it goes simultaneously with another line. So that's what I've got. So shepherd's hook line, shepherd hook line. Now I am also going to go ahead and if we're looking at the ends of our leaf structures, we have those curly cues. And so I'm thinking, when I did my dry run, I didn't draw them in initially, but I'm thinking that's gonna help. So let's go ahead and let's draw in some curly cues while we have this pencil to work with. So I'm gonna take those edges and draw a curl and another curl. I have them overlapping some. You don't have to do all of them overlapping. So just not on your flowers, not where you have your shepherd's hook. Just kind of do like little curls. You can see this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. It doesn't really matter how many you put in there. We are gonna try and cover these in paint later, very cautiously. So keep that in mind as you're deciding how willy-nilly to make these. You will have to face the music later and try and do something with it, so just be aware. All right, so add a few little curly cues. I'm not gonna do like multiple on each one. Okay. Okay, that makes me happy. I feel like we're pretty curly cued up. And just remember, the way we do this, we can always add more later. So you're never stuck with this plan. If I decide later that I want to add this branch back in and put that right there, I can totally do that. That's within my wheelhouse to do. For now, I'm just going to start with this main structure, and then I'll see if I need more later. Cool? So let's go. If you want more, you can do more. The first thing we're going to do today is we're going to mix our base green. So we know that is blue and yellow. Blue and yellow. Put a little bit on, so you don't need that much. I'm doing maybe, I don't know, dime-sized dots, and I'm not even going to use all the paint to mix right away. Might be less than a dime. So blue and yellow, go ahead and put a dollop of white on there. You're going to use that white a lot, so that doesn't mean use a lot, just put it in a more neutral space so that you can blend it as you mix colors throughout the rest of the time. Alrighty, let me get that looking nice and pretty. Okay, so to mix our green, we're gonna drag a little bit of blue, a little bit of yellow, mix that together. And so when I do it that way, what it allows me to do, it allows me to mix more color without having to squirt out more color. So if you just kind of pull from the green and the yellow that you put on there rather than mixing them both together automatically, it just gives you more freedom. I mixed way too much white in there. You don't need that much white off the bat, but just kind of put a little bit in there if you want. We're just making a nice true green to get started with. And since we need these lines to be nice and thin, I'm going to dip my brush in my water and then add that to the mix. And what that does is it makes it more fluid, it makes it flow so much better and glide so much better. And especially at this stage when you don't really need it to be thick paint, it's just really helpful to make sure that it glides nice and smooth. So I've mixed up the color I want, I've mixed water in it to make sure that it glides well. I now have a really clumpy brush. This is the color I mixed. But my brush is really clumpy, it's really thick, it's not as thin as it can be. So I'm going to wipe that off. So I've got my rag and I'm just gonna pinch the flat end and pull. So now I've got a nice sharp line. So I'll dip a little bit more water in and I'm just gonna get on the edge of my brush and we're gonna start off just by getting the core structures. So something that I noticed is the green of the vines to the flowers don't go up all the way. So only go part of the way up when you're doing the flowers. So I'm just gonna go just to that spot with the flowers. We're going really soft and light with the tip of our brush. Every time that you need to kind of pull, reflatten your brush, take the time, reflatten your brush. There's always more paint as far as I know. Don't do the curly cues just yet. We'll do those more intentionally. For now, just kind of glide and get those main stems in. Nice and simple. All right, this one is a flower, but I'm still going all the way up. I don't know why I did that, I just did it. We can all do stuff that's not quite right. So just get those nice lines in. Remember, be careful. I'm putting my wrist on the page to allow me to not move and fluctuate the thickness as much. It kind of gives me a base to work from. But just be careful as you do that, if you do that same method, not to drag paint. So you can always flip your painting around and move it to where it works better for you, to where you can pull in the right direction. Because sometimes it's easier to do a straight line if you're pulling than it is if you're pushing. I don't know what that's about. It's just what it is. So this is the flower, so I'm only gonna go part of the way. All right, and I'm not doing my curly cues just yet. We're gonna do that in a slightly different color, and we're also gonna do it when we have the moment to be more intentional with it. So, giving you a second to finish up getting those lines, because I know we've got some very particular people in our midst, not naming names, but knowing that, I'm giving y'all just a second to finish that up. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna continue, hey Alice, we're gonna continue to keep the same color green, same brush as per usual, and we're going to approach our leaves. I wish, had I saved, oh well. We're gonna approach our leaves, which are very much just a flat, we're just gonna take, I'll do it on my hand. So I've got my brush with the point, flat end, point like this, and I'm just going to drop and pull like that. Cool? Wipe that off so I don't rub it somewhere else. So just flatten your brush out on your page, and then we're gonna do our leaves, and I'm gonna do them like that. So I'm just gonna pop that in. Hey Caitlin, welcome. So it just makes a nice natural leaf. That's part of what excited me about this vine when I found it, apart from the fact that it was literally everywhere on our walk the other night. I loved the leaves. I loved just the tiny little like flat pointy leaves that it had. So remember the branches that have leaves on them, they are only going straight up. That's another weird thing. You'll notice they're not coming on both sides of the vine, they're only going up. So only draw them going up and at angles along with the branches, and only do them on the ones with the curly cues. You don't wanna cover over one of your flowers necessarily. So I'm not even touching my vine all the time. Like if you look nice and close, like some of these don't even make it to my vine, but it gives the illusion that it does from a distance. So that's kind of how you sometimes can give that look of a point and a thin line by just kind of getting really close and giving the illusion. So mix more water in as you need it, like if you need to make that flow a little bit better for you, not be too clumpy. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. There is no such thing as perfection in nature. or at least it's very rare, there definitely isn't in Athens, Georgia. So if your leaves look a little out of place, if your vines look a little out of place, it just makes it look more organic. Organic forms have mistakes in them. And as we said, what was it with the iris? Like, just tell people it just went through a storm. A storm just blew through and blew that one leaf out of place. So, not a problem. All right, throw those leaves in. Remember, they're only going up. We are gonna add more leaves later when we mix a different green, so you don't have to worry just now about getting that perfect. All right, go ahead and grab your red and put a little blob of red on there. If you've done classes with me before, you will know that I am not a big fan of the color black in beginners painting classes because it can easily become a crutch that just spoils your color. An interesting tidbit is that the Impressionists, for the most part, one of their main things was they did not use like tube black in their paintings. They insisted on finding alternative colors to do their shadows and to kind of blend a richer color rather than just using the tube color that darkened everything. So we're kind of channeling our inner Monet with that. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna mix a darker green to add a little bit more detail to the leaves. And the way we're gonna do that is I'm gonna take a little bit of red and mix that in with my green. So just a little bit of red mixed in with your green. We know that when we mix all three primary colors together, what we get is brown. So what we're doing now is we're mixing still green, but more of a brown green. So I'm taking a little bit of yellow, moving that back in because I didn't have enough green. A little bit of blue, still keeping it a true green color, but we're just adding a little bit of red into our green to make it more of a brownish green. Does that make sense? Let me know if it doesn't. I'm happy to re-explain things. Always happy to re-explain things. So, it's kind of turning out to be like an olivey green if you think about it like that. So let's see. Yeah, y'all, I actually had a teacher who challenged me in college to do a series of paintings without touching tube black, just to teach me how to use color more effectively and not just divert to something that was just kind of easily available. And it really helped me. It really pushed me as an artist. So this is the green I've got. Obviously my brush is crazy messy now, so I'm gonna need to wipe that off before I try and approach painting of any kind. But I've got this darker, more olivey green just by mixing a true green and then dragging a little bit of red in and mixing that together. So once you get that color nice and mixed, wipe that brush off, make sure it's nice and flat. If you need to wash it first, you can. But get it nice and flat, a nice sharp point, and then re-dip it. Now we're going with that color and we're gonna do the leaves again. Try and overlap them some, but don't overlap them completely. So we're adding more leaves. Oh, I love this color. This is a great move. All right, so just kind of add those in. And that just adds a really nice dimension. And if it kind of pulls up on the sides and doesn't blend perfectly, now that we're going over top the other green, that's totally okay. That transparency is just gonna make things a little bit more rich. And if you're like me and my brush just kind of went rogue on me a little bit, just fill in where you need to. Okay. So that was just adding a little bit of dimension right there. Nice and easy. If you're still working with that color, that's a-okay. But once we have that mixed, y'all hang with me, grab a little bit of yellow, mix that in with your green. So we're going a little bit more yellow, add a little bit more red. So we're going more towards the brown. So mix a little bit more yellow, a little bit more red, pushing that brown color. Still green, still like a variation, very ochre-y, kind of greenish brown. but definitely more towards brown than that last color. Just mix that up. Here's the color now. So still in that green family, but definitely more of a brown color. Clean that brush off. All right, the simple step we're gonna take first. Hey Becca, welcome. First simple step, we are going to do the stems of our flowers, right? So we're gonna just go to the top. You don't have to do the shepherd's crook because that's gonna end up being our purple, but just finish out that shepherd's crook that you started with this brown color. And y'all, this is really gonna help with the definition later. All these different additions of color and just changes of color, it really helps later on. I'm flipping my painting because I was really close to sticking my hand in wet paint again. So remember, if you need to flip your painting to be able to get a nice clean line, do that. It is okay that this doesn't blend, by the way. So it doesn't blend in perfectly. That's gonna be very much covered up later on. You're just gonna see spots of this coming out. You don't need to do the full crook. Crook? It's a shepherd's crook, right? C-R-O-O-K? Y'all tell me if I'm wrong. Don't let me keep making a fool out of myself. Okay. So that's that mixed. I'm gonna take a little bit of water, mix that in. Oh good, Mel, you're hanging with me. I'm trying to go nice and slow so that you don't get lost. Okay. So I've mixed a little bit more water in with that because now we are about to approach our curlicues, which is scary, but together we can do this. Okay. So I mixed a little bit more water in it. What I did just then with that, by mixing some water in with it, I made it more fluid. Now I'm gonna get all the water out of my brush. So once again, I'm gonna take my rag and we're gonna flatten this. So get it nice and squeegeed, because here's what we're about to do. So I've got this nice and pointy. I'm going to paint with this at an angle and I'm gonna try and use just the corner of my brush. We'll see how it goes. So I'll show you and then you can kind of follow suit. So I'm just using the corner. Just using the corner. And I'm slowly pulling it along my pencil line. So that water, I don't know if you can see the reflection, the water really helped it to flow and it will dry later. But for now, it just covers over that pencil line and helps me to stick it. So I'm just being very careful to use just the corner of my brush with this very watered down mixture. But the beauty is because it's going over top of that pencil line, that pencil is gonna give us a little bit of that darkness to make it seem like it's thicker than it is. So however many of these curlicues you have, just go nice and steady. It's okay if it's not perfect, it's okay if it kind of looks a little, I don't know, looks a little smudgy. Like mine's not perfect line. From a distance, it's gonna look great. So get those curlicues in. Brooke, welcome. I'm glad to have you here. I would love it if your kiddos would join us one day. Okay, so just do what you can to get that nice thin line. This is the hardest part of this painting. But I just love the curlicues and I feel like it's very characteristic of painting a vine that we just can't skip past the curlicues. So move your paper as you need to be able to get close to those lines. And just use the corner, the thinnest tip. If you're someone who got one of the paint packs with the different brushes, you might have a better brush for this. But I'm just sticking with this one for all the people who don't have paint packs but only have this one brush. So if you have like a straight up pointed brush, go for that if you want to. I'm just trying to stick to what I said and saying that I would only use this brush. Oh, I just made a tiny curlicue. How are we doing? Does anyone need me to go back over any color mixtures, any instructions? Are we all sticking together? Flatten your brush, reflatten your brush if you need to. You can do it as many times as you need to keep that point going nice and sharp. Don't worry too much if it's not as small as you want it to be. You are not going to get it the size of your pencil. It's just a goal of getting it as thin as possible. But it is a-okay, like this one just went really thick right here. That's totally fine. So if yours are all doing that, it is still a very thin line. So just keep going. Don't stress too much about this. And don't get stuck here either. So we'll move forward from here, but if you need to come back to it later, you can always come back to it later. But keep moving with us as we move past this stage. And then we can always double back to this, and when we have questions later, I can talk you through how to remix this color and how to get it right. But don't get stuck here. Alrighty? I hope y'all did not do as many curlicues as I did, because that was a lot of curlicues. Okay. So, like I said, y'all don't get stuck here. Move forward with me, and then we'll come back to the curlicues if you're still stuck on it. So I'm going to mix a little bit of white in with that color I just mixed, and that color we were just playing with, because right up here we have, I'll show you one here on the finished one. The top ones are not purple. They're still in that green phase that they haven't turned color yet. So we're going to go ahead and just drop a few, like 2 drops of that color. All right, so I just lightened it a little bit with a little bit more white, and I dropped 2 of those colors. Once you've done that, and you can totally skip that if you want to, and just jump to the next color with me. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna mix our first purple. So, grab a little bit of your blue and your red. I don't have enough red, so I'm gonna need to definitely put a little bit more red on my palette. But grab some red and some blue. We're gonna make a more red purple to start. So a more reddish purple. Whichever, just pay attention to, like, if you have a stronger red or a stronger blue, mix accordingly. But we're making more of a reddish purple right now. So more of your maroon. I'll show you the color in just a second. All right, here's what I just mixed. It's a dark purple, but it's more on the red family. Once you do that, make sure you have a nice flat brush. Wipe it off if you need to. And we're gonna do a very similar thing to what we did with our leaves. So we're gonna start on our stem and pull down just a little bit. So it makes this shape, okay? And we're gonna do that repeated. Now with the flowers, they'll go a little bit on both sides. So that's mostly hanging on one side, but it'll go a little bit on the other side. So just mix that up, and on each of your flower ones, like this one, it's all on one side, which I love. So I'm gonna do all these coming off the one side. Y'all are doing great. Just stay with me, and then towards the end, we'll do the questions like normal. Nice and pull. And my brush is not doing perfectly. I'm reflattening it as I can, but it's still kind of going a little bit fat and chubby on me. So just reflatten it. We'll make it work. We'll fix it later. This one's a little bit on both sides on mine. Mix more paint if you need to. Just pay attention. what you're working with. Try and get those nice hard edges when you can. This is looking good. All right, we're a little over halfway through our class. So just keep plugging away. So hit that shepherd's crook, that curve is gonna be a petal. So. I ran out of paint, so I'm remixing. And then this one was supposed to be flower, I just got the wrong color. Oof. Brush is acting up. Those were way thicker than I meant for them to be. Oh well. Oh well, we'll fix it on the next stage. Gosh, y'all. See, okay, I just want you to see. Those were the first ones, that's the ideal. Those were the last ones, those are not ideal. They're on the same painting, we're gonna make it work. Okay, so finish those up. Whew. All right, next what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and mix our lighter color to go in the center of that. So go for a nice pink this time. So mix up your white with your red. You can do it over top of where you just had that other color if you want. Mix water in. So nice light pink. And we're gonna go to the corner of our brushes again this time. So using the corner of them because we're just gonna dot. So dot in the center. So dot, dot, dot. Right there. Just dots in the center. It doesn't have to be perfectly in the center, but just in that general vicinity. It's okay if it covers over too much. That does not matter. Just putting our dots in. Some of mine don't even align perfectly with flowers, with petals. That's okay too. This is just adding that dimension in. Okay. Alrighty. So you can go ahead and keep that. Audrey, hi. Welcome. We're gonna mix a more bluish purple now. Still going in the purple family. We're gonna mix a nice darker bluish purple. It's gonna be more of like a indigo type purple. That's the thing. Okay, so bluish purple. Clean that brush off because that was so clumpy. And we're gonna do dots again, but this time we're doing dots at the very bottom. So nice dark blue purple. And we're just doing those dots at the bottom now. So after your petals end, just do another dot. Mine are coming out like triangles, but I think my brush is just being super used right now. So just dot those. And remember, we have these petals that are kind of floating out. So it's supposed to kind of be a dot on the outside of this. It's, yeah, just like that. Rotate your page if you need to. And if you're watching it live, just remember that we are going to go to the hour mark And then if we still need to work a little bit more after we reach that hour mark, we're gonna close out this live and then I'll reopen a new one to answer all of your questions. But we're gonna go straight to the hour mark so that I can save this for everyone to watch long-term in video format on my IGTV page. So, okay, now that we have that blue, that dark bluish purple still mixed, if you're still tracking, just kind of pay attention to what I'm mixing right now and then you can get there as we go. I'm mixing some white in with the bluish purple. So I'm making a nice light kind of lavender-esque color. I'll show you in just a second. Okay, so this is the color I just mixed. It's kind of like a periwinkle blue, like a lavender, light lavender. And we're just gonna do dots over top of our dark bluish purple dots. So, adding more dots. And it's great if they overlap in different places. You don't want them to be perfectly symmetrical in how they hit, because naturally they're gonna hit differently. So they're just kind of overlapping. Turn that paper if you need to. Alrighty. All right, we're gonna give the flowers a bit of time to dry real fast. And I don't know about y'all, but I am seeing that I want just one more vine. So we're gonna go back to the vine. So if you still need to work on your flowers, work on your flowers. But if you are wanting to add a little bit more detail to your leaves and your vines, add a branch or two more, follow me, we're gonna do that real fast. So I take my yellow, I take a little bit of blue, and I mix that together. And I'm gonna go ahead and just mix a little bit of red in with that so I can get that olivey color. And some water. Okay, flatten that brush out if you're with me and doing another vine. Flatten that brush out. And then decide where you want it. And now we're just gonna be confident because you're pretty much a professional by now. So just kind of choose where you want it to go. Be bold, be brave, draw that line. So I'm gonna add a little curly Q, nice and brave-like. I should probably be drawing it first and whatnot, but I'm living life on the edge right now. Okay. All right, so that's still a different color than the rest of my stuff, so I'm gonna mix a little bit more blue and yellow together. Okay, so now I'm gonna flatten that brush out again and add some leaves in. So, how am I gonna do that? I'm gonna flip it this way. Leaves on top. All of a sudden my brush is deciding to be super straight for me. I don't know where that's been this whole time. Okay, yeah, that looks better already. I just needed a little bit more foliage going on. Okay, so I'm gonna give y'all just a minute to kind of play with what you've got, work with what you've got, and then I'll give you some new instruction of how to add. So y'all just kind of look at your page, make a few adjustments if you want them, see what you need more of, and feel free, ask me if you need to remix something, ask me how to do it, and I'm here to help you. So we'll just take a minute to do that, and then I'll give you some fresh instruction. Take a sip of your drink, a bite of your snack if you need to. Does anyone have any questions at this point? Well, there we go. Almost just lost the iPad. Okay, so let's jump back into some more detail and let's mix up. If you need more red, grab a little bit more red, a little bit more blue. We're gonna mix up another reddish purple. Okay, we're gonna do nice thin lines, just kind of going back over thin lines on our petals. So we're just recreating that depth and just working on that a little bit. So y'all know me, I am a firm believer in the more layers, the better. Every time we remix a color, it comes out a little bit differently, and then we get to see a new variation added in. And so it just adds to the detail, adds to the intentionality. So just kind of drawing those lines, because this is part of the main cone of the flower, rather than like a highlight on it or the little petals shooting out of it. So a nice little line. Alrighty. Okay, how are we feeling, y'all? Does anybody have any questions at this point? Anything that they need help with, anything they want to revisit? I'm just gonna play around for a minute or so and just give y'all a chance. If you have any questions, let me know. I am right here and I'm happy to help. But I'm just gonna be piddling with my painting and my composition and just making little changes. All I'm doing right now is I'm just adding some more leaves. If you would like to add another dimension to your leaves, you can always mix a lighter yellowish green. So I'm mixing like a nice lime right now with white, just a dot of white, a little bit more yellow, and a little bit of blue. I've just mixed up this color right here. I'm gonna thin that out on my brush and make sure it's not messy, but then I'm just gonna do another layer on my leaves, mix in a little water, make it nice and thin. I'm just gonna add a little bit more dimension to my leaves by adding that lighter color on some of them, so not all of them. So I'm just kind of popping that in some of these. Totally not necessary. The painting will look fine without it, but just another detail if you are someone who likes to add that dimension and you're up to date right now, you're welcome to do that. Okay. What else? Does anybody have any questions? We've got a few more minutes and I'm happy to answer if y'all need any help with anything. Okay, if y'all are all good to go, I'm gonna give you a screenshot of this flower and then we'll get moving. So here's a screenshot of what I've just made. Here is the flower. Here are the two things together. Okay, so that is our, oh man, Vicia. Our Vicia flower, otherwise known as a winter vetch. We'll decide later which one we title it as, probably Vicia. But thank y'all so much for joining me. Thank you for sticking with me through this class time. If you are live, go ahead, post your pictures. Either way, post your pictures, tag me in them, use the hashtag, Yardley, I agree, Vicia. Use the hashtag LovelyThingsToCome when you post your pictures. That way we can all see, we can all celebrate and be excited with them. If you're live, hit me up if you have questions. I'm available the rest of the day. And if you're watching the recording, I don't care if it's a week later, I don't care if it's a month later or even further. I'm always available to help and excited to see what you're working on. So if you need help in the process, just send me a screenshot, send me a picture of what you're working with, and I'll be happy to help you, talk you through it. But otherwise, I hope y'all have a lovely day. I hope this has been a restful time for you. I've had a lot of fun. I love y'all and I'm grateful for y'all. And I will see you maybe Tuesday, maybe sometime in between. We'll see. Bye, y'all.